Welcome to the Dropping into Power podcast, where we'll be hearing stories about the transformational power of surfing from women surfers of all ages, all levels, and all over. We'll hear about courage, commitment, struggles, frustration, epiphany, and of course, life transformations large and small. I'm your host, Sheila Gallion, and I am stoked to share these conversations full of so much passion with all of you. Aloha and welcome to the Dropping into Power podcast. I am so excited to be talking today to Gabi del Rosario, who is joining us from the Philippines and has a very unique perspective on how surfing has impacted her. I don't think it would be hard to imagine somebody whose life had transformed more from surfing in the last 18 months. And I'm kind of noticing a trend here. I'm noticing that women are so stoked on surfing and are so filled up that suddenly this desire to give happens. And it's really kind of amazing. I'm seeing it as a theme. And it's so interesting because it's such a personal and can be such a personally competitive sport. And yet somehow it ignites this magical thing. So Gabi's going to be telling us some of her story and also the story of this incredible club movement, in a sense, that she started called Alon and Araw, Waves and Sun, right, Gabi? Waves and Sun.
Waves and Sun, Alon and Araw.
Serving children in the Philippines on so many more levels than surf. It's really an incredible story. You're going to love her. She has so much energy, so much passion. And I also thought for so many of us, it would be really interesting to get a view of her world. Now, living in Hawaii, I know a lot of people from the Philippines. I probably have a little better sense than many people do, but I still have such a limited understanding of what life is like there. And talking to you, Gabi, and hearing so much more about it was very fascinating, very inspiring, very humbling, very moving. And it's such a beautiful place. So the first question I really want to ask you is, you shared that you were born and raised and you were a total city girl. And I want you to tell us what it means to be a city girl where you grew up. And you really didn't know anything about that there really even was surfing in the Philippines. So tell us a little. I know it sort of dovetails with COVID and some personal things, but tell us a little bit about how this all started for you and what your life was like before and then what happened.
All right. So as you mentioned, born and raised in the Philippines, and even though we're an archipelago of 7,000 islands, surfing isn't that popular here in the Philippines. Like, it's not something that you hear about. So when you talk about surfing, you still think Hawaii, right? Instead of places here in the Philippines. So I'm very sporty. Before surfing, I used to go to the gym regularly, lift weights. I play soccer. But then during the pandemic, everything shut down here in the Philippines. So everything that gave my life purpose, like being active, suddenly I was limited. I couldn't do anything. So my partner based in the province, when the pandemic hit and closed everything down, he invited me over saying, hey, why don't you wait out the pandemic here in the province? So this was during the time that we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. Mm-hmm. So we were all pretty clueless. And at first I was saying, I was still pretty optimistic about the pandemic. I was saying it's gonna end soon. Don't worry about it. But then eventually it didn't. So after a month of being stuck in the city, and not having access to the things that gave me joy, like being active, I took the my partner's offer and moved to the province where I have access to the beach. So he lived right by the beach, and through there I was like, I wasn't surfing yet, so at least I had access to being free, to walking around and seeing the ocean.
How much time had you spent in the ocean before this?
Oh yeah. So before the pandemic, I wasn't really an ocean person. I like going to the beach, but as you said, I'm a city girl. I love being the city. I love the hustle and bustle. I love the how fast everything was, having access to everything. So the beach for me was just an idea of a vacation from time to time. So It wasn't really a place to settle down or to live my life. And really, the pandemic really completely shifted my track of life. So I'm sure as it has to every one of us. But
Well, it must have been a major culture shock to go from where you were
yes,
to, and
yeah.
you'll talk more about this village. I mean, were you first thinking, "What have I done?" A little bit like walking along, or was the beauty and being with your partner, was all of that enough, or you were kind of thinking, "Oh no."
It was enough because all I had to do was compare being stuck in a building in the city
Right.
to being out here free. Because again, in the city, everything was shut down. Everything was so strict.
Yeah.
You couldn't go out. You couldn't. Everything was closed down. Man, it was really bad in Manila. The cases were increasing every day.
Mm.
It was really, really bad. And here in the province, it felt like actually, I feel bad, but it felt like there was no such thing as COVID.
Hmm.
I guess because it's not as condensed,
Right.
so there's so much less population that people are spread apart. So cases was at the height of it. I think we only had maximum of like 50 in the whole place where I'm at. So it wasn't
Yeah.
as bad. So I was able to explore and really enjoy the ocean. But when I moved here, that was in 2020, March of 2020. March. No, no, no. Sorry. I moved here May 2020. But I only started surfing, I would say, really surfing December that same year.
Okay. So what was
Yeah.
that like? What's the surf like that time of year? And what was it like suddenly?
Uh,
I know your partner was already a surfer. So what
mhm, mhm.
what was the moment that you were like, okay, I'm gonna try this?
Okay. Actually, I my partner is really big into surfing, so uh, he tried to get me into surfing before when we first started going out, and I kind of enjoyed it, but again, it didn't make that big of an impact for
Hmm.
me because I wasn't that much of an ocean person. So it was fun, but I didn't really see the value of it. I didn't see that much the first time I tried it
Hmm.
out. But then I think surfing really really made an impact on me when my after my dad passed away.
Mm.
Uh, so when my dad passed away in November of 2020, I haven't seen him for months because of the pandemic. Everything was locked down. People weren't
Mm.
allowed to see each other. So the last time I saw him before he passed away was February. So that was
Oh.
really months, and it was so sad because we were already um, planning his visit, and we were already like a week before he passed away. We were in a Zoom call. I was interviewing him, and
Oh.
I was really so excited to have him come over here. So his sudden passing was really a devastating
Oh.
devastating for me. It was unexpected, and he was only 51, so it was
Wow.
really, yeah, 20. I When I heard the news, I was in shock because of all the people in
Mm.
my life. When I got a call, I was here in Zambales by myself, with my partner. Luckily, my brother was here with me as well. Uh, and I got a call from my mom saying, "Who's with you right now? What are you doing? I have some bad news to tell you." And I was already thinking, "Oh, I already had a bad feeling." I was thinking maybe it's my grandparents, one of my grandparents. And then the moment my dad was, and I couldn't believe it.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I'm so
yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
It's so yeah. But which brings me to the point that after that event, that really completely changed my whole life. Before then, I was just most of the time I was just thinking mostly of myself. Like
Mm.
I told you, I was really into working out, like doing gym, going to the gym. Like we had some weights here, lifting weights. I was really focused on that, like building myself and all that. But then when my dad passed away, I really didn't know what to do. I felt like I was like lost in this. I was in a void. I didn't know what
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So of course the funeral was held in Manila, the city. So it's like a 4 hour drive from here.
Hmm.
So we tended to the funeral and all that. But then when we came back, again I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
At that time, I was actually enrolled in a master's program for sports science because that's what I thought I wanted to do. But
Mm.
then after my dad passed away, I was like, what now? What do I do? That then, of course, we live across from the ocean. So one of the things I started doing was, one of the things I continued doing was going to the beach every day. Right after my dad passed and I was at the beach, I was staring at the ocean. That's when, I don't know, I felt like a sudden calm come over me. And before I started surfing, we got into paddleboarding, the inflatable paddleboard.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, so that's what I was doing before really getting into the surf. Because during the beginning of December, right after my dad passed away in November, there wasn't much waves. So we'd be out paddleboarding, and just a simple act of like paddling towards the sunset, because the sun is facing here. So the sunset would be what do you call that, setting, and we'd be paddling towards it. And man, I remember the feeling of just, I felt like my dad was there with me.
Yeah.
As I looked into the horizon and just felt the calm waves surrounding me. And that's when I realized this is home. This is where I feel my dad. Yeah, and I think after that, as I mentioned, I wasn't an ocean person before. I knew that the ocean is the place to be, and that's what started all. So that was December of 2020, and then that was me paddleboarding. But then come towards the last week of December, the swell kicked in. There were perfect waves for surfing, and my partner, he was like, "Come on, let's go surf. Let's surf. Let's surf." So he was. That's when it really started. So he would be pushing me into my waves. Yeah. So that was just a year. I think that's just a year and 3 months ago, December. Yeah. So, and from the feeling of the riding the waves, I felt like I completely, I don't want to say forgot, but I wasn't thinking of how painful it was. Yeah. Losing my dad. So just riding the waves and just feeling the stoke. The stoke completely like started my healing journey.
I love it.
Yeah, it was so powerful.
It's really interesting that it literally, it was just like an inner glow in a way. Some people really are called to the ocean. You literally, it's like you had been guided there, and then suddenly I could just see you standing on the paddleboard, and this whole, just like it's seeping from within, and the grace of your father. Oh, it's really beautiful. And what came out of it, which we will get to, but I would ask you a few more questions about your surfing, because I've seen some really beautiful videos of you just so connected. You look so connected in the water. And how often, and I don't know how consistent the surf is. So how often, once you caught the bug, how often did you surf, and how often do you surf now?
Oh, when I first caught the bug, we were surfing every day, mornings and afternoons, and it was just perfect. The conditions were just perfect. The whole morning we'd be out for 2 hours, and then it would die down a bit, and then in the afternoon it would pick up again. So every day, morning and afternoon. And man, I remember that was my skin would get so dark. That was the darkest I became after that first getting into surfing. I was really addicted. Like,
I love it.
All I was thinking about was every waking moment. I was just thinking of, when am I going to surf next? When am I going to surf next? And that's all I was thinking of all day. And really, and at the same time, I felt so much hope again. It was a complete shift within me. After my dad passed away, I felt completely happy. I felt life was looking really optimistic. It was something to look forward to. Yeah, everything just made sense. Yeah. Even when I lost my dad, it felt like everything was, I couldn't understand anything. But then in the ocean, surfing the waves was just completely a cathartic feeling. Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, talk about just a deep and powerful upwelling, and just connection and transformation, and where it ultimately went for you. And I want to ask you about that. You talked about, you've never been as dark from the sun, and it is something I've heard can be an issue. And I just looked on your Instagram, and there was a post of a woman surfer there talking about that. Brown is beautiful. What is the challenge? Had you known any women? I can't imagine you really were aware of any, Filipino women surfers before all of this. So what is it like? And having the young girls that you've involved that we'll talk about shortly, what is that like for you and for everybody there? What is that consciousness around that?
Here in the Philippines, it's being dark skinned is seen as being poor or dirty, or like it's just frowned upon. No one wants to be dark here. Every time you enter a drugstore, or all the advertisements on TV are all about whitening. So everyone wants to be fair, light skinned here.
Wow.
I think that's also one of the reasons why surfing is not popular. Why when you go to the beach, all the sunblock is all about whitening sunblock. So it's people. I actually grew up being bullied because being a sporty person, I played soccer growing up as a kid. So all summers we would be out in the sun. As a kid, of course, you don't understand those things that you'll be bullied just because you're tanner than everyone else. But it's sad because sometimes it's your own family members making jokes about your skin color, because it's so normalized, the bullying of being darker skin, that it's like a lot of dark skinned girls like me get bullied growing up, and it's such a there's a movement now. I'm very happy that there is a movement right now addressing this. It's colorism, right? The same people from the same ethnicity are bullying, or are what do you call that? Looking down on those who are darker than themselves. So that's a issue really ingrained in our Filipino culture. And it's hard for us to implement our programs here for young girls. But what the good thing is for the younger girls, they don't realize it yet. So they're out there, they're happy, they're enjoying the sun, they're enjoying the surf, they're not caring if they get so dark. But what we noticed is, soon as they hit about 16, 17, 18, suddenly they care so much, and they start avoiding the sun completely. So there was one time I was asking one of the few teenage female surfers we have here, and I was asking her, hey, can you invite some of your friends, some of your girlfriends here, because I want more female surfers. And she's like, they don't want to be in the sun. They don't want to get dark. They don't want to try out surfing, because, or if they do try surfing, I noticed since we're starting a small surf school for tourists that come here, and whenever we do have guests who are a bit fair skinned, they always wear the full on rash guards.
Right.
Like they're wearing leggings, and they're wearing they're all their skin is covered.
Yeah. Right.
It's warm water, it's warm temperature, but they're full on covered in just because they don't want to get dark, because people perceive dark skin as if you're less of a person because you're dark skinned. So it's really a sad reality here. Yeah. And we really try our best to tell our young girls that it's okay, that brown is beautiful, or any color is beautiful. You don't have to be white or to be fair skinned to fit in, to be accepted, and no one deserves to treat you any less just because you're darker than them. So that's one of the things we're trying to instill into our young girls, because based on experience, some programs that do have young girls, soon as they hit a certain age, they stop attending surfing sessions. They stop at a certain age, 16, 17, because society is telling them they shouldn't be dark, because they won't get boyfriends if they're dark, if they're under the sun. So that's something we're trying to really expose the young girls to. So we really want to address that through our program as well, that we want to see these girls not being hampered by insecurities of their skin color from doing what they love. That's really what we want to avoid.
Do you get any pushback from the families? Are they resistant for those reasons, or does that come a little later?
Luckily, No, not really. From the parents are very supportive of our
Yeah.
program because again, we address everything in our program. So we don't
Yeah.
just do it for surfing. So we also address the educational gap. We give support for nutrition because
Let's
of
dig
that.
into how it all started. When you first told me the story, and I know I won't get the terminology right, but I'll recap it a little bit and then I'll let you tell. Because what impacted me is that you guys were surfing in the lineup pretty much by yourselves. And then there's these little kids surfing on these pieces of wood that have come from their parents' boats, basically. So I'll let you take the story from there. But I love how this story developed. Yeah.
Okay, so again, when I first got into surfing, at first it was just all about myself. But then we were surfing in an empty lineup. It was just me and my partner enjoying the beautiful waves. And at some point, we felt kind of guilty because it was all, I think surfing's is more enjoyable when you share it with other people. So while we will be out there surfing, there would be these local kids along the coastline. They'd be out there to enjoying the waves, and they'd be on their little planks, plywoods, scrap plywoods from they'd pick up on the shore or they get from old boats, as you mentioned, and they'd be riding the waves, and they'd be even more stoked than we were from riding the waves, and we'd be like, wow! And that's all they have, holding on to it. They're using it like boogie boards to ride go with the waves. And of course, we had two extra shortboards because we would be on our longboards, and we had two extra shortboards that we had at home, and we would bring them out. One day we decided to bring them out and invite the kids that we become friends with. And then we're like, hey, we gave them the basic surf lesson, how to pop up, what to do, and then we did the basic pushing. We pushed them, and man, they were so happy. They were so stoked. And then I think it was just one surf lesson, and then after that, we just told them, okay, you go figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
We big every time we'd go out surfing, we'd give the boards to them, our extra boards, and we'd give it to them, and they'd be right there next to us, and they knew what to do. So it was very natural because these are kids of in our area. These are the kids of the local fishermen.
Yeah.
So where we live right now, it's a fisher folk community. So most of the locals here rely on fishing for their livelihoods. They have small boats that it's like a 2 to 3 person boat only, very small. So they only go out every day. That's what that's the livelihood they rely on. So every day they go, or when they can, they go out, fish, and whatever they get, that's what they use to for their livelihoods. So these kids, of course, I think these fishermen can only I don't. It's not that reliable. They have very outdated equipment. Their boats break down every now and then. So the community where we're at is very a bit impoverished on the poor side. So these kids would never have access to a surfboard. Right. Nowhere in their whole lifetime they would not have been able, because surfboards here is very luxurious sport. Actually, it's very that's why it's not known in the whole Philippines, because the majority of people here can't even afford to feed their family a lot of times. So what more to have their own surfboard or to have the time to go out surfing. So
how did you get the idea to get them to pick up trash in trade for the
of course, my partner, since he grew up in the States, he knew that he started working, got a job at as young as 15 years old. So he knew that things can't be given for free. Yeah. And when we got here in our location, we noticed how dirty the beach was. It was beautiful beach, but unfortunately, it was littered with trash all over the place. And not just the trash coming in from the ocean, from the waves, but also the locals here, they would end up leaving their trash on the beach, or they wouldn't have any other way to get rid of the trash. So what they would do is they'd burn it on the beach or bury it in the sand. So the trash problem was really bad. So since we had surfboards and these kids really wanted to surf, we were like, hey, we can't just give it to you for free. So come on, help us, join us. We'll do some beach cleanup, and after that you can surf. So we would join them. We'd have our bags of our sacks and pick up trash for about maybe a good 1 hour, go down, up and down the coast. And then after that, the kids would be able to surf. So at the same time, we try to educate these kids that the reason why we're doing this is because we want to protect our ocean. This ocean, so these are, since they're kids of fishermen, they rely on the ocean. So we try to connect the two. Like if the plastic gets into the ocean, the fish will eat the plastic. And you guys eat fish every day. So what's going to happen to the plastic? It's going to go into you. You're going to eat the plastic. So that's how we try to make them more aware of the negative effects of plastic, because that's what we realized the longer we've been here, is that it's just a lack of awareness.
And you explained that they, many, if not all of the people that live there kind of to explain the single use, like shampoo and things like that. That was really, so there's two issues, like you can't, how the products are given to them and that there's no trash pickup. So explain how that worked. Cause that was really eye-opening to me.
Yeah. So the trash problem here is it's really complex because again, most people here, because they can't really, the minimum wage here is about $5 a day to at the most like $10 a day. So that's their daily wage. So that's really not enough to afford like the bulk products, like a bulk bottle of shampoo. So what they've done here in the whole Philippines actually is, it's called the sachet culture. So it's small sachets of shampoo good for 1 to 2 days. And that's what they use. So every day they use that kind of plastic. It's called single-use plastic. So this plastic, because so much plastic is being used, and there's no solution of what to do with it after. It's really scattered everywhere you look. There's a plastic of this chips, like a really small, tiny bag of chips everywhere you look, or tiny sachet of shampoo or soap. So it's really a big problem. But I think one of the solutions would be to put up like a refillable stores, right, to address this. So again, it's lack of awareness. People aren't aware that they shouldn't be throwing these things into the ocean, that they shouldn't just be burning these things. So that's one of the things we're trying to work with. That's why we have a lot of the young people of the community. So now they're more aware. They know what to do. They know the negative effects if they throw their trash. So we've really observed the behavioral change of the children in our care, because they're doing it every day, and there's a nice incentive, like they get to surf.
Right, they get to serve. So I know you did a fundraiser where you got more boards. So how many boards and how many kids do you now have?
Okay, so our first time we did our fundraiser, we were able to get like 10 boards in the beginning, and we had about like less than 12 or maybe 10 kids as well. But now that we're hitting a year, it's our anniversary month this month. We have about more than 20 boards now, and about 40 kids. Wow. Yeah, 40 kids. Yeah, and about 80% of them are young girls.
So I know that was really important to you. So, and I can guess at some of the reasons, but what is your driving reason? Why have you focused so much on the girls?
Well, mainly because in this country, most of the time when you look at sports, it's mostly boys in the field. Like girls it's still very outdated here in the Philippines. When you think of sports, you just automatically think of boys achieving in these things. So when we wanted to start this program, I said I really want to focus on the girls, because most of the time they're the ones being left out. If there's a program for a basketball program or a soccer program, always the girls getting the opportunities. So for this program, we really made sure that we invite more girls than boys. So we have a few boys, but because we have more girls, so the more the other girls feel comfortable joining us and asking, hey, can I join? Can I also join? Can I also pick up trash? Can you also teach me how to surf? So many girls now are so interested in surfing. And imagine if this was a group of all boys, they wouldn't want to come near us because they'd be intimidated. They'd feel like it's only for boys. But because we have majority girls, they feel comfortable, and they also they know that they can do it too. They see other girls doing it, so they kind of are empowered that, hey, it's something I can also try out. So it's so amazing
awesome.
how
Yeah.
girls
You're raising
as
like the
young as
next, who knows, I mean, there's a whole rampage of young women surfers, young girl surfers on the new like world, the WCT tour. You've got all the teenagers.
man,
You're raising the
really
next
dream.
batch, like a super, well, I don't know what the right word is, but yeah, a wave of women that are coming that way. It'll be totally imbalanced. Like all the best surfers in the Philippines are going to be women.
I hope that's really our dream.
I love it. That's amazing.
Even since our spot here in where we are right now, it's not known in the whole Philippines to be a surfing spot. When you say Philippines, most of the people think if you've heard of it, Siargao or La Union. So our area is really not well known for surfing. So, and what more, girls surfing here. So we really want to be the hot spot for where girls, not just the locals, but even people from the city who want to try out surfing. Girls will feel comfortable coming here because the lineup is filled with girls, so they won't feel afraid of making mistakes. So this is our really dream for our location here. It's just like dominated by women.
It's right. Just get chills with it. Just from the moment, from, the way that your own transformation happened with your dad. And so you had mentioned too, that he was kind of a famous player, and that it was his kind of giving spirit that, seems to have migrated in a way.
My dad, he's really well known in the soccer industry here. He used to be in the Philippine national team. It's really his whole career is related to soccer, football, as we call it here.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So he was a soccer coach. He played in the national team, but one of his I think the reason why I started this program in the first place is because of the kind of life he lived. He's a very generous person. He'd give all his time to share the art of playing soccer to other less fortunate people. He even was the head coach for this program called the Homeless World Cup. He was the head coach of the Philippine team, where they would look for homeless people, create a team and send them to compete internationally in the Homeless World Cup. So my dad was a big believer that sports can really uplift you from poverty and from bad decisions. Like it can really change your life. So I think
get me all choked up. Yeah, I just between that and the wave.
That's what my dad was. He was big advocate of that. Everywhere he lived a life of giving everything he had to other people so they could achieve more. So he was such a selfless person when it came to those things. He did not have a penny to his name when he passed away because he would be giving away all the stuff he had. We barely had any of his soccer jerseys because every time he had a new one, he'd be giving it to someone who needed it more. I just remember growing up to witnessing how generous my dad was and how much he cared about other people, to kids especially. Every time he was, just to give a context, my parents have been separated since I was a toddler. So I was closer to my mom, and I lived with my mom most of my life. So my dad was just kind of distant. I think that's one of the things, because he was so all about giving. He didn't really have time to be with his kids. Which kind of caused some anger within me. But later on, I realized it was because he was so giving to other people. So I knew that they probably needed him more.
That's amazing, Gabi. That's amazing. You have a huge heart, and that's how you were able. What an enormous gift for you to be able to internalize that and then expand even more and get so focused on taking that whole message and like it's true to your core. I mean, I can see it in your whole heart. Like it's true to your core. You're not just acting something out. Like it's really in there. And now you've been really smart about it, whether it was organic or not, but like, wow, I can really make a difference right here. Like this is impactful. So it's like, oh, it just keeps giving me chills. It's really, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to cut you off. It's really
No.
beautiful and amazing
It's actually,
because it wouldn't be everyone's experience. You know, some people really would be hurt or, you know, not get through that trauma piece and, you know, could have had a different experience. And you've made these other choices and landed in these places that it's amazing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when he passed away, it's something that you have to you're forced to deal with. Like, should I spend the rest of my life hating that, you know, he wasn't that good of a father to me, or should I just appreciate what the lessons he gave me, or what he's pushed me to do, right?
So from the surf piece, and I know it's really interesting because it just, our conversation, when you told me the story, like it really stuck with me, all of it. And I've retold your story to a lot of people, just so you know, because it's so powerful. And also I just couldn't believe how little I knew about a country so close to me, you know, just, it was really fascinating to me. So this next piece, so you've got this incredible thing going on with these kids and they're picking up trash and you're educating them this way. And then you became aware, you got focused on this next piece, which I think you called catastrophe. No, what did you call it? You had a word for it.
Calamities. Yeah.
Calamity. So yeah, what happened in that time period?
Okay, so when we first started the program, it was just about picking up trash, and then you can serve. And then suddenly, there came July of 20 last year. There was a storm that hit the Philippines. It wasn't so bad where we were at, but it caused the ocean. The waves were really big and really strong. So none of the fishermen in our area could go out to fish, you know. And for us, we were just at home. It just felt like bed weather. We couldn't go out. We didn't see the kids at all. But you know, it didn't really strike us as a problem because we had food to eat. We had a roof over our heads, and we didn't think about what was happening outside of our house. But then, through the power of social media, I saw this status update of one of the parents of our kids who we've become close to. So that's why we're friends on Facebook. I saw a status update saying, "Isn't anyone going to help us? We haven't eaten for weeks." And then I realized, oh no, they're fishermen. They're not going out. They can't go out to fish. So they don't have any source of livelihood. So when I saw that post, I was like, my reality was shattered. I'm like, oh no, this is what's happening for them. So I have the privilege to be comfortable despite the storm. But for them, they're so vulnerable to just a slight change in the weather. They won't be able to go out and address their livelihood, to do what they're made to do. So when I saw that post, I was telling my partner, hey, we have to do something. Really, like, her post was not for us, was not meant for us. It was really meant for the local government. But you know, no, being in the Philippines, it's kind of slow. Help is really slow here. Everyone's limited in funds, and you know, corruption is kind of rampant here as well. So we knew we had to we had the capacity to address it immediately, as compared to anyone else who would have to, you know, wait for funding. So again, through social media, we just made a post saying, I made a whole campaign. Donate, help us raise enough funds so we can provide food packs for the fisherfolk community who have been affected by this storm, and in return, they will clean up the beach. Because with the heavy rains and the big waves, a lot of trash ended up on our coastline. So it was really filled with trash from all over the place. Yeah, when we were doing our beach cleanup, we found plastic or debris from other countries ending up on our shores. So that was the campaign I made. We're gonna have the community do a beach cleanup, and whoever participates will get a food pack in exchange. So that's what we did. We were able to we got so much support from, especially from those who had a connection to the ocean. One of the most support we got was from this free diving community. She was this girl. We we were connected with, she saw our call for donations. She reached out to her community because this community of free divers, they care so much about the ocean as well.
Yeah.
So they were really touched that they have an opportunity to help clean up the ocean and also help feed those in need of help.
That was really brilliant. And I know it was organic, but I know you have a marketing gift too. And that was really brilliant to make those connections and help people feel it. It's not just some distant, everybody's got problems kind of thing. That was a really powerful way to do it. And once again, that whole feeling, that you started with, that nothing should be quote unquote free. It gives room for dignity, it gives room for contribution and dignity, and being a part of, this isn't just a handout of course, that would be nice in its own way, but that can just impact how somebody feels about it. So, I mean, you're like, part of this whole revolution of new ways that we can help each other. I think it's really,
and it's not much, right? All you have to do is just walk down and pick up. It's really not that hard of a thing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's incredible. And then there was go ahead.
Okay. So when we did, when we finally had that day when we were going to pick up the trash, so I think we had like a 5-day campaign before we did the actual beach cleanup. The community the community was able to pick up sacks and sacks of trash within 30 minutes.
Wow.
All their sacks were filled. That's how dirty our beach was, man.
Wow.
We have photos of we were supposed to document the whole thing. We were supposed to take videos, but they were done so fast that we weren't able to go out to. We were still busy preparing the food packs. We were preparing rice, canned goods, noodles to give out to them. While we were preparing, we told them to go start already, but then they were done, and then we weren't even done packing up our food. So that's how filthy the beach was. So and then the best thing about it too was, I think just 2 days after we did that beach cleanup of the whole beach, the sky cleared up, the sun came out, the waves calmed down, and it was beautiful. I took photos of the fishermen going out on their bangkas, on their boats. They were able to finally go out, get their fish, resume their, and it was a beautiful moment to teach a lesson to the young kids. I was telling them, hey, look, we did something for the ocean. We protected it from the trash, and look how it repays us, right?
Yes.
They're now able to go out. So it was a teaching moment for our group. We're like, see,
I love this. You're getting it in all kinds of ways.
Yeah. It was like a perfect story to tell. Like, look at these kids. If you do good for the ocean, it will repay you tenfold, right?
Yes, I love it. I love it. And then there was one other leg to all this thing. I want to come back and talk about the surfing with the kids too, but this was this third piece of your project that you're doing, where you realized there was this immense educational gap that probably had existed to some extent, but describe how you became aware of what was going on with the educational situation.
So after that event, that's when we started to really look into the community. It's more than just issue of not having enough to help them through emergencies, but also we noticed the kids were not going to school because there was no school. Schools were closed down because of the pandemic.
It was 2 years.
Yeah. 2 years. Yep. 2 whole years that the children all over the Philippines were stopped from going to school. All they did was every few weeks they'd provide learning modules, what they call it, basically lessons printed on pieces of paper, sent to the kids for them to learn by themselves, and then answer and then submit back. And the concept was the parents are supposed to teach the kids, but a lot of the parents here themselves, they're not even if they're not high school graduates, or they're so busy working, making a living, they don't have time to teach their own kids. That's why there's school, right? That's why there's public school, so the teachers can do it. So with the pandemic, that's what they were forced to do. But again, they can't give up their livelihoods just to teach their kids. So most of the time, we noticed these kids were just, answering blindly, or, and it's so funny because the answers of the questionnaires would be right on the back of the paper. So they'd be just copying the answer. They weren't learning a single thing for the past 2 years. And it was really heartbreaking because our members, our kids, most of them are like 8, 9, 10, 11. So these are the really formative years, right? They should be learning really just the basics at this point of their life, but they're not. There's no one there to teach it to them. And fortunately, a lot of them, they have access to a smartphone, but all they're doing is just they're not learning. They're really just. It was really sad. We have a 10-year-old kid who doesn't even know the ABCs at 10 years old. Yeah, and then we do some reading programs for them. So my partner and I, when we have the time, we really do our best to invite all the kids come over. We have a space where we call it our makeshift learning center. So that's where we invite all the kids to bring their modules, and we try our best to really just help them with whatever needs to be done. So, and most of the time, since we're not really teachers, so we're just trying our best to maybe just get the basics like the ABCs and the reading, the writing. That's what we're doing. But really, there's a huge gap in the education. They're really, I overhear the kids saying, because right now they've slowly started to go back to school. So I'm really happy for that. So they're doing it by batch, since things are really slowly starting to open up here in the Philippines. So kids are starting to go back to school. And then I can't help but overhear some of the kids saying, I wish I could just go back to the grade where I was at the beginning of the pandemic. Because a lot of them, they already, even though everything was just modular learning through those papers, they were still able to advance to the next grade without any proof that they actually learned the whole thing. So it's really bad. Yeah, they're 2 grade levels higher than when beginning of the pandemic, but they're at the same or maybe worse because it wasn't reinforced. None of the things they learned back then was reinforced. So
that's crazy.
That's one of the things we're trying to also implement here in our program is you can't surf, especially now that there's school again. So you can't surf if you don't go to school. So, or since everything is in collaboration with their parents, we tell the parents, hey, can you tell us if your kid's not doing well in school, if they're not doing they're not doing their homework, tell us, so we won't let them out and surf, so it's a added incentive for them to really focus on their schooling, because we always tell them, surf will always be there. The waves might not, you might have to miss some waves today, but, they'll be there again maybe next week or something like that. So don't sacrifice your education, your learning, because that's really what's going to, help you later on in life. It's really the way to address or cut the cycle of poverty in your family if you work on, getting a good education. If you dream bigger, that's one of the things we really want to inspire in our kids, to have dreams and to really pursue these dreams, and to we're empowering them to let them know that they can be more, that they have so much potential, and through surfing and through sports they're able to these values are instilled in them, that they can they have so much potential. And these sports and surfing is really, I believe you don't really have to say much in surfing. I think internally it's like there's something happening to each individual, and which is gonna help them later on in life. So that's one of the things we believe in.
So what have you learned from watching these kids surf? Like what have you learned, not just about life, obviously but just even about surfing? Are they teaching you how to learn how to surf? What kind of insights do you get?
I've been surfing longer than they have been surfing. I was the one teaching most of them when at the beginning of this program, but they're all much better than me. They're so much better than me now. And I try my best not to let it get to me, because, they're young, they're kids. So one of the things it's teaching is to just, don't be so scared to try. That's what I noticed with them. They're fearless. They're not afraid to make mistakes. Sometimes when I'm out in the water, I'm like, oh man, I'm just gonna make a mistake. I shouldn't even try. But then I see these kids, they keep trying and trying, and I see them, because they've tried and they've failed, then they keep trying. That's how they're getting better. So that's how I learn from them. And and they really, and when it comes to like reading the waves, reading the water, man, they really, I have to follow them in the water. In the lineup, I'm following them where they're gonna go, because it's a, what do you call it? It's a beach break, so it's a sandbar, so it's moving around. It's not, there's not a consistent point. So the what do you call it? The peak is moving around, so I have to follow them where they go.
I love it.
I learned more from them. So all I had to do was give them the basics of how to pop up, and they basically knew everything else, because they're children of the ocean.
I was going to say they're water people, and they've been like, it's in the blood, and it's in there. They've been staring at those waves and playing in them, and they do have that intuitive sense. But I love that sense of being able to fail, because it is something that happens. And I do think it happens more for women, this weird sense of always being watched, and your own inner judge, like, even who would be the judge caring if you surf okay, but it's just this weird feeling of always being observed in some way. And I don't know, I'd have to ask men if they feel the same way. I don't know, but I know it's a common feeling for women, like you're being observed or somebody's, and I think it may come from things like, you may be just walking across a campus or a street, and some guy says to you, "Oh, you're prettier if you smile," or something. And you're like, I was just living, like you're just like, there's nothing. So you have this weird feeling of people observing you, even when you're just going about your day. And I mean, it's just a fact. So maybe that comes from, or maybe we can be
become so self-conscious in the water, right?
I think that is. And even though, like, I know I learned as, in my late 30s. And so I really didn't care. There's still some part of me, and especially being in Hawaii where people are watching, actually, they're probably not watching me. They're probably watching the really good surfers, but you still have this feeling because the beach is closed. They're always watching to make sure, to see if they can take your waves. I mean, that's something that happens in the lineup. Now the kids are watching, they're like, "Oh, Auntie's going to miss that one. I got it." But so what are you guys working on now? I mean, you have all these pieces in place. What's your next project?
Right now, we're really trying to build our learning center, because we want the kids to be more equipped in this digital age. Everything's computers and tech, so we want to be able to give them the opportunity to be able to learn these things as well. So we want them to be more versed in these computer skills, and so we really want to build our learning center, have more books. So that's what we've been working towards whenever someone asks us, what do we need? So we're looking for, like, if you have extra books there, so just to really cultivate an environment of learning here in our location, because it's more than surfing. It's really learning is really what's gonna, our kids can't all be professional surfers one day.
Of course, right.
At least there, right? So at least focus on your education. So it's sure that you can really learn more through that. So that's
what do you need? What do you need most then from people? Because we'll post your links. Like, is it just hard cash? Do you want, is it just best if people donate money, or if they're near you, if they donate time? What's the best way that we can support you?
Right now, honestly, it would be a big help if we could get, like, people to actually come out here and help us.
Interesting.
Maybe do some tutoring. Maybe expose the kids to other people, knowing
so maybe
that
there's some teacher types who need a place to surf in the Philippines. What are the good times of year
for us?
Because there's definitely some younger people or people that are less tied down. What are the best times to come to the Philippines if they could come and contribute and get some surf in?
July we start. Right now it's like really flat. There's so right now it's we're heading into our summer season. So when it's summer here, there is the swell is like, there's no swell. It's completely flat. Good for stand-up paddleboarding. But our season starts again about July. So during the rainy season. So it's 2 seasons here in the Philippines, rainy or summer, or July all the way to December. Good spell, comes in. Good for, but just a heads up, we don't get the massive huge waves. Our waves are really perfect for kids and for beginners, but it's very uncrowded, so really good, best place to make mistakes,
I love it.
Best place to practice, really The kids are loving it. It's really I really love our spot. I've never been to any other surf spot in the Philippines or anywhere else in the world. This is where I learned. Yeah, but I love it. Yeah, so it's really would love to come to surf alongside other people, other women, especially women, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
women would be more women surfers is what we need the girls to see, because we've gotten a lot of male surfers come and visit us.
Yeah.
They heard about us, so they come here. They give their tips. They give their they watch. But it's still it's these men. So
Yeah, of course.
we
Yeah.
have some we have
All
some
right,
boys here.
ladies, women to the
Yeah,
Philippines. We have to make this
yeah.
happen. That would be amazing. That would
That's
really,
something would be really amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
Later on, we hope to maybe launch like a voluntourism package.
Mm,
Invite international women surfers to come here, experience the whole thing, do some volunteering on the side, but then get to
yeah.
surf. I think it's getting big right now, or the surf retreats, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
maybe one day we can work on doing a program as well for our location where
And
it would.
having, yeah, being volunteerism instead of just
Mhm.
going get massages, but that,
Yeah,
being part
yeah.
of it. Yeah. I love that. So, in your
Yeah,
own
because
surfing, I like to ask this question because we're also self critical. What is one thing you love about your own surfing? What's your favorite thing about your surfing or your
my
experience with surfing?
my favorite thing, how I have become so much more patient with myself
Hmm.
and so much more understanding with myself because of surfing. Because I kind of I struggle with like being a perfectionist most of the
Hmm.
time, like doing something perfect. So I'm one of those people that
Yeah,
just really needs to do everything perfectly. But being in the water, surfing, you can't do anything perfectly. You have to
true.
like constantly adjust. Nothing, you can't even predict. Even if you kind of can predict the kind of wave, you still don't know. You have to adjust along the way, and
Yeah.
and you have to accept that you're gonna make mistakes. So that's something I've learned in the water, is to be kinder to myself. If I mess up, if
Oh,
I wipe out, it's something I have to, it's part of it. So
yeah.
you have no choice but to get back on your board, paddle back into the lineup, and just try better, try do better in the next one, right?
I like
So
that. I,
it's really surfing is really therapeutic for me. So, and it's so much, you don't have your phone right there, so you can't be
hmm
bothered by social media as well,
hmm
and you have so much time to reflect and to think and to just enjoy the water, enjoy the waves. So that's, I think it's so helpful for your mental health. I really really believe that surf is some kind of therapy that should be
hmm
experienced by much more people out there. I want to encourage more women surfers, more of my friends who are suffering through like depression,
hmm
anxiety. I think it's going to be a big help for them, like surf therapy. I'm a big advocate for that.
Yeah,
And
there's amazing movement of surf therapy going on right now, but I love, everything you're doing is just this organic thing that's just
mm,
happening. And just think how the impact, I know you're thinking about it, just, there's that whole period for young girls. I don't know if you ever saw that campaign that went around where they show the difference. They have like young girls say, okay, run like a girl. And they have like a
yeah,
10-year-old run
yeah.
like a girl and she's sprinting and she's bad. And then they have a 14-year-old run by the girl and she's
Mhm,
like, and then so you're catching these girls at that young age and letting them see each
mhm,
other and letting them make mistakes and letting them, again, another reason to see more women in the water and see
mhm,
more local women in the water so they can feel okay about all those pieces. But I mean, it's like groundbreaking, I mean,
mhm.
it's a rising revolution.
Right now, it's a two-man team. It's just me and
Mm,
my partner, and we're still. It's just turning one this year, so everything is very like personal. But of course,
hmm
eventually, we really want to be able to create a program that is replicable in
right.
other locations here in the Philippines, because we know we're doing a lot for this community, and this community is experiencing these problems, but definitely other locations have the same problems as well, right? So hopefully, so far we've noticed it's working. It's really it's really making a difference in these kids' lives. It's really helping them. Hopefully, we dream that this can be replicated in other coastal areas where they're able to surf. But then, aside from reaping the benefits of surfing, they also their problems in like school, and then the environmental issues are also tackled. So that's something we want to be able to do somewhere down the line, right? So with
Absolutely.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So we would need a lot of support to be able to do that. So we lack we lack people in the team to help us like figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of we're still a lot of expenses are still out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So although we are registered with the government, we still don't have the financial support that we hope that we would be getting. But we're trying to create revenue streams of revenue, so we're self-sustaining. So we have a surf school, and then we're putting up a hostel, so we can invite guests. So where a portion of the profit will go to our activities. So far
Oh,
we're
great.
really working towards becoming more self-sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
compared to just always asking for handouts, like what we said, right? So
Right.
we have to be able to make it self-sustaining and circular. Just
Mm-hmm.
that's one of our hopes for this community. We really lack tourism. So again, that's why I was saying we'd love if people could come over and visit us. People usually visit Siargao, La Union. We would love people to come visit. We're called Kabangan Zambales. So we'd love people to come over, visit, maybe put up their own, check out what they can do here, help the
Are there
community.
places to stay, like Airbnbs and things like that, if people want to come?
There are a few, yeah. That's what we're doing right now. We're making
Okay.
accommodations available for us.
Okay.
But then there are a few other locations that would be open to hosting people as well. But it's really, really very backward. This location, no
Yeah.
development. Yeah, very third world. You think, yeah.
Yeah.
But we do have signal. We have internet.
Mm-hmm.
We lack restaurants, and we don't have a mall. The only
Come
establishment we
on.
have here is a 7-Eleven.
Wow. There's no
Yeah,
restaurants at all. There's no restaurants
there
at
are
all.
some local ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are. Yeah, but very few compared to, yeah,
Yeah.
where we're at. It's very what do you call it? It's residential, mostly
Yeah.
vacation homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we're very happy that we work with the local community, because sometimes what happens in other tourist surf destinations, it becomes so developed that the locals are kicked out of their own location.
Right.
So our dream really is for our community, the kids in our community, to be at the forefront of tourism later
Mm-hmm.
on. When this picks up, when it booms,
Mm-hmm.
we want to give them the skills that will help them keep up with the times. A lot of times the locals are kicked out of their own places because they
Sure.
can't keep up. Their businesses are suffering because they don't have they don't have the skills. They don't,
Mm-hmm.
So we're hoping that our kids, our girls, will grow up to be, to be able to be the ones putting up their own businesses here someday,
Yeah.
right?
I
That's our
love
dream,
that.
really, for
That's
them to be
amazing.
the one
Yeah.
benefiting. Yeah, instead of like usually sometimes sometimes the problem is people from the city, they
Mm-hmm.
know better, so they come here, they put up their big businesses, then they just push the locals get pushed out, and it's really sad. But we
Yeah,
hope to be the
definitely.
ones preventing that from happening.
Right.
So we really want to fight for these locals, these local girls especially, to have better opportunities.
Well, it's amazing vision. It's amazing that you're just making it happen on every level. I'm so happy that we connected. And I will ask for I'll put in the notes for the podcast, the names
Mhm.
of anywhere, your different social media and your website and all of that. And then we'll connect afterwards, see if there's anything else,
All
anywhere,
right.
anything else that we should post. But just thank you so much for sharing this incredible story.
Thank
And
you,
really,
Naya.
your transformation it's kind of the wrong word. I mean, I can't quite come up with a word. Like you've just been lit up from within, and it's just,
Yeah.
and I know I can see it in your face, and this incredible, soul giving that's so genuine and stoked. I love it. So thank you so much, Gabby.
Yeah.